Hi, I'm Kevin Klein, the Winnipeg Sun. Today we are talking to Brian Mayes, City Councillor for St. Vital. Brian has publicly put out that he is holding some town halls to inform residents, which I think is a fantastic idea and really important for elected officials to do because people need to understand what's happening in their community. So, Brian, you have two town halls planned. Tell me what they're about.
Yeah, we got started yesterday and we've got another one coming up, same venue on the 25th. This is about part of the Housing Accelerator Fund process that the city of Winnipeg is going through, doing some pretty big rezoning in order to get federal government money. It's being done in several stages. The issue I'm most concerned about is this idea that we should allow fourplexes, i.e. a unit with four housing units on any residential lot in the city and increase the height limit to 48 feet in some parts of the city. So I'm trying to let people know this is the proposal and it's coming to council in March. So we're underway with that process.
It's a drastic change. I think what's the height restriction right now, if I recall from my city council days, 35 feet?
And in some places 28 feet in the where the infill guidelines have applied. So yes, up to a 70% increase in height. And I mean, you can still do one of the fourplexes without the greater height limit, but we should be letting people know where this is going to apply. And we were told the map defining 800 meters from a transit stop, frequent transit stop would be available in the summer. We still don't have it. The public doesn't have it. I'm now being told January or maybe December. So once I get that, I'll certainly be making it public because you would want to know, I think, if the height limit on your street is increasing by 70%.
Well, I think a lot of people would want to know. I think they also want to know because, and correct me if I'm wrong, that they won't have the opportunity to speak out against this. Once you guys have made the decision, or not you guys, once City Council, if they decide that we're going to go ahead with that, residents don't have any avenue or ability to push back.
Yeah, I mean it's removing rights people now have by saying, okay, we're going to rezone this huge area. There's going to be one public hearing, and that's going to be in front of all of council in March. So I'm trying to let people know this is potentially a big change in your neighborhood if we're going to allow a fourplex next to you, and it could be up to 48 feet high, which is closer to a 5-story building than a 4-story building. So we got underway with that last night. We're going again. We had people from Charleswood, Wolseley, Jeff Brawadi's ward, Riverview. It was good. People from across the city. And I'm not attacking anybody. I'm just, trying to say, look, I have some ideas of what this should look like, and I can get into that. But mostly, like, I have this image of like ringing a school bell or something, like saying, hey, pay attention. This is coming. Don't come up to me in the liquor store lineup a few years from now and berate me saying you let them wreck the neighborhood. No, I'm going to try and make sure people know this is happening. And if they're concerned, they can raise their voice.
Well, and if it goes through, I imagine you'll be in the liquor store lineup more often because of all the problems you'll hear about. I'm so tell
Yes.
me, you said you, and I can see people from Charleswood coming. I mean, this really will impact the character of a lot of neighborhoods. And, one day you're looking at a 2-story and, 2 months later, there's a 4-story and you got no parking on your street. It's just going to be a drastic change. So what are some of your ideas? First and foremost, I do want to say this. Pierre Poilievre said publicly that if he gets elected, which everyone thinks he will, he'll end the accelerated housing fund that Winnipeg is so desperately trying to get money from.
Yes.
So it will disappear. And he used Winnipeg as an example of why the program isn't actually working at all. So let me get your thoughts on that. I don't expect you to say, yeah, Pierre Poilievre's right or anything like that, but really, are we changing bylaws that could dramatically impact the city for decades to come in hopes that we get a little bit of cash from Trudeau?
Well, yeah, I mean, if somebody from the mayor's office was in on this call, they'd probably say, well, it's 122 million. But yeah, it'll cost a lot of money to upgrade the sewer system, for example, to accommodate new growth. So that was a good chunk of this debate last night was, well, wait a minute, if we're passing these permanent changes in March or April, and the government maybe is defeated on its April budget, and that it triggers an election, the money's never coming, quite probably. So, or quite possibly. So, like, why would you make these permanent changes in order to get money that may never come? So, I think some of my colleagues here, some of your former colleagues, have some sympathy for that, thinking, well, let's take our time on this. We don't need to rush it. I hope that's the view. So what are some of my ideas? Like, I think most people would say, okay, I can live with the duplex going in on my street or next door, but 3 or 4 units, that's a problem. So right now we have had these infill guidelines that have said you are supposed to have the fourplex, you need a back lane, and it should be a paved lane. Those are two of my big issues. St. Vital, home of the gravel lane in this city, and they're all terrible. So I don't think you should quadruple the population on them. That I think the planners have conceded that point. That and then there's some reasons why we don't want cars parked in the front yard. So if you're going to have backyard parking, you either need a very wide piece of property or a back lane. So that's sort of the start of it. And then the height limit thing matters, but what really matters is how wide a piece of property should you have. And we said 50 feet in the infill guidelines, 35 feet for a triplex, 50 feet wide for a fourplex. That seems to make sense to me. We got a chart from the city staff of, what have other cities done to get the housing accelerator money? Toronto, 11 feet wide is the requirement for a fourplex. And I go, as one of my friends said, like each unit's 2 feet wide and 48 tall, or is each unit like 9 feet? Like, what? So, it's a typo, and that completely skews the average. And then, I'm arguing with them. This is the battle, right? To say, look, two things. Like, even if other cities, the average lot width is like 40 something, no other city agreed to 48 feet tall. That's nowhere. So if we're agreeing to that, then you better have wider lots to allow these things. It's unless you don't want the 48-foot stucco wall 2 feet from your property line. I don't, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am. I don't think most people want that.
No, I mean, I don't think anybody wants it. I don't mind. You're right. If a duplex in an older area, if it fits with the quality, but if you allow this height, you drive through some of the neighborhoods where they have the infill properties that are taller, and it looks odd, but some of them are nice looking, and they and it eventually will change. The DNA of the street will change as more houses turn over in that matter. But a fourplex, like I mean, this is a drastic change that you're doing with the hopes of getting some money from the federal government, when really you should be banging on the federal government's door asking for money to fix the North End treatment plant. Which is one of our problems, why we don't have more development happening, or we're concerned about development happening. So are we, are we this desperate for
Well,
money?
that's the question. In a way, that's the question, right? That's the people last night. It was good. These are low-tech things I run. You hand out some papers. I babble for a while. People started firing questions. It goes for 2 hours. It's pretty good. It's democracy. So, that's sort of the question. At what cost? We give out awards for placemaking. People in St. Norbert, win these awards for, community stuff, placemaking. Well, we should value that. Community should matter. We shouldn't be place unmaking, like, so this is, we need more housing, but at what cost? Should we be, as somebody said, well, do you want your Pulbury neighborhood there? You think it'll still look the same in 60 years? And I said, no, I think it'll evolve, though. It's not like we need to fire up the backhoes and start tearing down 50-year-old houses. Like, I don't accept that. So it evolves. We'll have, the corner lot. Maybe you put a denser, taller building on the corner lot, that kind of thing. But this seems pretty crude. This isn't something the mayor ran on, unlike the let's densify on the corridors and the shopping malls. He ran on that. That's fair. But this is a federal the way it's being presented is this is being imposed by the federal government. Okay, well, let's listen to the people in the city and, try and come up with something that's, at least my plan is consistent with the infill guidelines. It might not please everybody, but at least that's a good starting point, I think, to say, if we required 50 feet just a few years ago, why would we require less width now?
Well, and think of the money, time, and effort that was put in on those infill guidelines. I was on council during that time.
Yes.
It was a lot. Like there was so much going on, and they were trying to drive so much through. And here we are upsetting that apple cart again.
Imagine, yeah, you live in some of these areas, right? I went door to door in the cold in Portland and Poplar with these streets in my ward, I had a pretty inflammatory piece of literature deliberately to like call in, email, participate. I don't apologize, but like the height limit went from 35 to 28 in some of these infill areas, and that was pretty popular. Like people could live with that. Imagine now you're being told, oh, you know how we went down? Now we're going to 48. And is there sewer capacity? In some places, I'm sure there isn't. These sorts of issues creep in. So the staff have been okay on, I've said you shouldn't do this outside the primary dike, which in my ward is Kingston Crescent. Probably, I think that makes pretty good sense. You shouldn't be quadrupling the population if you don't have city water or city sewer. Not many, probably some parts of your old ward. In fact, I'm sure parts of your old ward would
Charleswood
be
doesn't. There's a lot of them
affected
that
by
don't have.
that. I think staff are good with that. So, that I feel like maybe we're inching towards something, but
But
yeah, I mean, it is frustrating when you're told 11 feet wide is all they need. And like, you just like, come on, man, like give me some real numbers.
but if you're inching forward to something, Councillor Mays, it tells me that they're shooting for the moon in order to get you to come down and at least accept something. And
Yeah, I mean,
I don't appreciate that. And I think that's the worst way of governing. And I think that's not the proper way. I mean, in sales, you shoot for the big, oh, buy this. And if they buy this, you're happy. But let's not do that with people's homes. I mean, we have so many people. And I know the city always talks about growing to 1 million. That was one of my pet peeves. And when you actually look at it in the suburbs, Niverville is one of the fastest growing places
yeah,
in Canada. And that's not people moving from across Canada in Niverville. That's people moving out of Winnipeg and going to West St. Paul. They're going to Niverville. If you look at, a lot of the other communities where new homes are being Steinbach, Selkirk, the new homes being built there, that's people leaving Winnipeg to go to those communities. Are we forcing more people to start looking elsewhere to live? I mean, yes, we need more, but we need infill. I agree with that. I agree we need to, and in the corridors, you're right. That was something that was talked about and it makes sense. But if it makes sense and housing is such a problem, why aren't they doing the Polo Park development that was suggested, which would be 3,000 units? Why aren't they pushing through Parker Lands, which has been going on now for what, 10 years, more than
yeah.
10 years?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things there. Yes, to our credit, you and I both tried to vote for the Parker lands, I think in about 2019, and it just kept falling off the table. Incredibly, it wasn't on the map of locations within 800 meters of frequent transit. And I was saying, like, it exists. We literally built a transit line by the neighborhood. Oh my God. Well, we haven't built the streets yet. And it's like, someone's not trying here. So we'll see what the final map looks like. Yeah, that's very frustrating, I have to say. It's like this thing's been litigated half a dozen times now and could have been built by now. So also yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's good. I think you're fighting the good fight now, and I want to make sure more people get out to your next one. And you said that is on.
That is on October 20. No, it's on
No.
November 25th. November 25th at 7 o'clock at 176 Worthington, which
And
is
can I
at
ask you, do you have any other counselors? Did any other counselors attend the one that you held?
Councillor Sharma, to her credit, came to me today and said, "What I wanted to drop by, I didn't, but what happened?" So, but we did have people from different wards, and yeah, so we're keep. It's the Saint Vital version of the Taylor Swift Eras tour, where you just keep playing the same venue over and over again. So we're going to be saying third meeting at the same place, but
Yeah.
we're trying, try to let people know, hey, this is coming. What do you think? And if you're concerned, give us, let's get some public input on this.
Good for you. Again, anybody from the mayor's office?
I invited the mayor's office and the planning department, both declined.
Both declined. Very busy, I'm sure, at this particular, got other things to do.